Well, welcome everyone to our annual Mayor's Breakfast. I think I know most of you, but my name is Steve Van Dorn. I have the honor of being the President and CEO of the Pleasant Hill Chamber of Commerce. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the star of the morning here, our mayor, Michael Harris. Let me tell you a little bit about our mayor. The love of a good woman brought Mayor Harris to Pleasant Hill. But it's the love of a good city that keeps him here more than 20 years later. This is Michael's fourth term as mayor, having previously served in 2005, 2009, and 2013. He is an enthusiastic and generous supporter of many community groups and causes in Pleasant Hill, including the YMCA, JFK University, Chamber of Commerce, yes, Pleasant Hill Community Foundation, and the Foundation for Pleasant Hill Education. He has been a faculty member of the University of California, Berkeley for over 50 years, where he has served as a professor of optometry and associate dean. He's an avid reader, devouring books, eating books on a regular basis, and writes a monthly book review column for the Community Focus. Please welcome our new mayor, Michael Harris.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to all the sponsors for this event. And I really appreciate all of you being here. At your tables, you'll find a gift. It is a notebook. And if you'll notice the title of the notebook and the title of the presentation, there's a theme here. And that theme goes along with my tie, for those of you who didn't notice. It's a Snoopy tie, and Snoopy is in the library reading lots of books along with all of his friends. So I want to thank a couple other people and talk a little bit about what we've done in the past year and what the plans are for the next year. It is my habit not to stand at a podium. As Steve said, and by the way, Steve, thanks for that great introduction. You read it exactly the way I wrote it. I've been teaching professionally for over 50 years, and I don't like standing at a lectern and lecturing. I like walking around, engaging the folks that I'm talking with. So you're going to see me walking all over the place. I hope that's okay for the cameras. But first of all, I want to thank our former mayor, Sue Nowak. Sue did a fantastic job, an absolutely fantastic job in 2016. And she's going to have I'm going to have really big shoes to fill. Well, that's bad enough. In addition to having really big shoes to fill, following Sue is going to be a really tall order. Now, some of you may think that this is done with Photoshop, but these are actually photos of us, real photos of us, after some all-you-can-eat buffet that we went to. And I had more than my share, but Sue still maintains that very, very slim athletic figure. Sue, you've done a terrific job. I really want to thank you for your leadership. But I do want to tell you one thing, and I hope you don't take this wrong. I've looked at the crowd at today's Mayor's Breakfast, and there are millions more people here this morning than were at your breakfast last year. We're still waiting for the official comparison photographs from the Washington Monument. Unfortunately, I don't have them available today, but take my word for it, there are millions more people listening this morning than there were last year. Sue, I appreciate your great sense of humor as well. All right, so continuing with the thank yous. I want to thank former council member David Durant. David served our city with dedication and with flair for 17 years. He retired off the council at the end of 2016. But his service to our community is something that we can all be proud of. And if you see David, please thank him for all of his years of service. He's been terrific. I also want to thank our staff. The city is fortunate, you are fortunate as the residents and people who are serviced in Pleasant Hill. You are so fortunate to have such a wonderful staff working for all of us. Can I ask the staff to please stand up? I'm not going to introduce you individually, but could you please, if you're a member of our staff, please stand up and please join me in thanking them for the great job they do on behalf of our city. They are absolutely terrific. I want to congratulate some folks who made a splash this last year. We re-elected Councilmember Ken Carlson and Tim Flaherty, who is recovering from foot surgery. And we welcome new council member Matt Rinn. Matt, do you have your cell phone with you?
I do. You want to do a cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Oh, wait a second. We didn't get that one,
We got
Matt.
one more?
Matt promised that selfie when he got sworn in is the last one he'd be taking at a council meeting. But we welcome him, and we re-elected Treasurer Mark Cilio. Mark is proud of saying that he's the elected official in Pleasant Hill who got the highest percentage of votes. He was running unopposed. And I like to tease him because he only got 99% of the votes. Mickey Mouse got some votes. Some other people got some votes, but if you, Mark is one of those dedicated behind-the-scene workers who really keeps us straight as far as our finances, and our finances are really good. So we're going to go over some highlights from 2016, and then I'm going to talk to you about what I envision us focusing on for 2017. There are a lot of good things that happened in Pleasant Hill in 2016. It was a banner year for us. But without a doubt, the best thing that happened in Pleasant Hill was me winning the Mayor's Healthy Cook-Off. The counties in Contra Costa each compete once a year on a Mayor's Healthy Cook-Off. We select a restaurant in our own community, and with just minor help from the great folks at Wise Girl, I won the Mayor's Cook-Off. And you can tell from this picture over here how involved I was in the cooking and preparation. But I want to thank Wise Girls and their staff for doing a great job, and we're really proud of the fact that we won that trophy. All the credit goes to them, as those of you who know, I don't cook. All right, other big news in Pleasant Hill. There are numerous publications who have shown that Pleasant Hill is one of the outstanding real estate markets in the country. In fact, we are considered the second hottest real estate market according to this one survey. By the way, you're probably asking yourself, the number one ranked city, Watauga, Texas. I looked up Watauga, Texas on the web, and they've got about 4 lines. They're a little suburb of Fort Worth, known mainly for hot summers, hot falls, hot springs, and hot winters. Coming in second is pretty darn good. And all these other surveys are showing that the housing market in Pleasant Hill is thriving. People want to live here. And I'm delighted to see that we're finally being recognized as a wonderful place to live and raise a family. We also introduced last year our mobile app, Ask Phil. Those of you who have not tried it yet, you should. It's an easy way for people to communicate with the city, ask questions, get information, just from your phone. It's a wonderful application that will help you get the answers to your most fervent questions about the city. And I urge you to take a look at that app. You'll find it very, very user-friendly and very, very informative. As with any mayor's breakfast, you have to talk about certain things. One of the things you have to talk about are the kinds of improvements we've made in our city. We have a wonderful engineering staff. And thanks to them and some of the grants they've been able to get and the hard work of all of our folks, we did some major improvements this past year, one of which is nearby the Golf Club Road bridge replacement. That was a bridge that was failing, and I know it was inconvenient for those of you who had to go across that while it was being constructed, but right now we've got really, not only a very usable and safe bridge, but we've got a really pretty one. We've done some other things too. We've added sidewalks to Boyd and Eleonora. We're in the process of enhancing Contra Costa Boulevard to make it more beautiful and safer. We're also working on some other projects, including the first roundabout in our city, Old Quarry Road, and we're doing a lot of resurfacing of our streets. And all of our capital improvement projects for this fiscal year total about $15.6 million. So we're investing the money we have in the community to make it safer and better for all of us who live here and work here. And speaking of work here, I want to thank the Chamber for partnering with us. The Chamber has been a really wonderful resource for the city, and we really enjoy working with them. And thanks again to Steve and Julie last year, and I'm looking forward to working with Tom and others on the board this year. Those of you who have been out and about in the city, you have seen our brand new gateway signs. They are a beautiful addition to our city. They took the place of those pagodas, which have been around forever. They were designed with help of an architecture firm, and a lot of workshops were used to get feedback from all of our residents. How many of you have seen the signs? How many of you think they really look great? Again, a cooperative effort from our various city committees, our city staff, our residents, and our city council. We've welcomed some new businesses into town. I'm not going to name them all, but we're very pleased that we continue to be a place where businesses want to operate. And a lot of these places are food places, and I can assure you I visited every one of them. And they're really good. Now, you got to talk about finances when you come to a mayor's breakfast. And everybody likes to show the pie chart. So I'm going to show you a few pie charts. And this is the one that shows our revenue. And as our total revenue for fiscal 16-17 is $24.5 million. And as you can tell, most of it comes from sales tax. 38% comes from sales tax. So we are definitely concerned about the state of business in our city, and we want to work carefully to make sure that we continue to have a thriving business community. The other major portion is on capital improvements. Is from property tax, but the vast majority comes from sales tax. So we're really dependent on a thriving business community. And then our expenditures, as you might expect with any organization, the majority of the expenses are personnel. And as I mentioned, we have an outstanding staff, and we are delighted that so many of these folks have been with us for so long, and we continue to get new folks who just add tremendously. The other thing that we spend a lot of money on is capital improvements, as you could tell from my previous slide. Now, this is my favorite pie chart. This is the portion of the pie that I've already eaten, and the top part is the portion I'm having when I get home. Now, I mentioned the mayor's healthy cook-off as the highlight of the year, but it really wasn't. The highlight of the year was the passage of Measure K. It took a lot of work. Took a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy from a lot of people. But we had an absolutely wonderful, dedicated committee who worked tirelessly to get this measure on the ballot and passed. It passed with 2/3 majority, even though it only needed a simple majority. And it doesn't go into effect until April of this year. And when it does, it will add an additional $4 million per year to our city coffers, which we will be using for sidewalks, bike paths, resurfacing those roads. If you live on a street or travel on a street that has potholes, we're going to be able to fix those thanks to the monies that we get from Measure K. We're going to be able to do these infrastructure improvements. We're going to concentrate on neighborhood streets. We're also going to be able to upgrade our storm drains. Now, speaking of storm drains, we had a lot of rain this past winter, and I want to tell you that our city staff has done such a fantastic job of clearing the creeks and managing minor flooding areas that we had no major flooding in the city. There were a couple of streets that were impacted, but we had no property damage at all. Compare this to what happened in the year 2000 when we had a similar kind of storm. We have done a terrific job of upgrading our storm drains, and I want to send a big thank you out to our maintenance crew for the wonderful job that they do. As Steve mentioned, this is my 4th term as mayor, and each of the previous terms I've had a theme. My first term, the theme was Community Service Day, and I'm delighted to say that Community Service Day still endures. We'll be celebrating the 13th Community Service Day on September 28th, 23rd. We changed the date, or I got it wrong, 23rd. Saturday, September 23rd. The website is up soon. Martin and I are having this, we're not quite sure yet. But I'm expecting all of you to show up and help make our city even better by volunteering on that day. In 2009, we started the Senior Summit. We had a all-in-one stop for seniors to learn everything they need to know about health and safety. And then in my past term, I introduced the Pleasant Hill Education Initiative, which is now part of the Foundation for Pleasant Hill Education. This year is no different. I've got a theme. If you look at my tie and you look at the gift that you have on your tables, it should be no surprise that our theme is our new library. Now, we've been working on this for quite a while. In fact, I looked at my first campaign brochure from 2002, and getting a new library was one of my priorities when I ran some 14 years ago. Well, it's going to happen, folks. It's going to happen. We know that libraries are important to a community, and this just shows you some of the quotes that have been made about libraries. Like a candy store where everything is free. And having fun isn't hard at all when you've got a library card. But I want to find out what you know about libraries. So we're going to do a little library quiz. Unfortunately, I don't have any other gifts than what you have at your table. But see if you know the answers to some of these questions. Who founded the first library in the United States? Just shout out if you know the answer. Ben Franklin, that's correct. And it was known as the Library Company of Philadelphia. So that's the first library in the United States. Question number 2. Who built over 2,500 libraries from 1883 to 1929? Who knows the answer? Andrew Carnegie, exactly. Andrew Carnegie, born in Scotland. His first public library was in his birthplace. He was a real benefactor of libraries. The largest library. What is the world's largest library? Library of Congress. And I'm proud to say I have 4 books in the Library of Congress, because any book that ever gets published gets into the Library of Congress. And if you write a book, your book will be there too. Whose library was purchased to start the Library of Congress? Say it loud. Thomas Jefferson. Exactly. So that was the start of the Library of Congress, which is now the largest library in the world. Now, some other little known facts. Did you know that one European country allows you to borrow sculptures and paintings from their local library? Any idea which country that is? That's, believe it or not, it's Germany. So if you have a German library card, you can go in there and for a few euros, you can rent out a painting or a piece of sculpture to keep in your house for a short period of time. All right, so what about our own Pleasant Hill Library, Patrick? What about you can't answer this because you know the answers off the top of your head. What are the number of items in the Pleasant Hill Library, the size of the collection? What's the size of the collection? Matt. You take your kids to the library on a regular basis. What's the size of the collection there?
We never make it out of the kids section.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, the answer is
Gazillions.
not a gazillion, but we have 160,000 books and other items in the library. And how many people visit our library on a daily basis? We are the most popular library in the county, even with that old building that doesn't have much of an ambiance. We still manage to attract lots of people on a daily basis. Chris, how many people do you think come to the library on a daily basis?
350.
Okay. Do we have another number higher than that? Very good. The answer is 1,200. On a daily basis. Wow. That is an amazing amount of number of people who take advantage of the programs that we have, and we have outstanding programs. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when we have these outstanding programs in an outstanding building? Wow, that's going to be fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about library users. What percentage of Americans have a library card? How many of you have a library card? I have a library card. I don't leave home without it. Better than my American Express card. There are almost 70% of Americans have a library card. And how many items do they check out? How many items are checked out in total by all these library users in an average year? Well, I'm not going to make you guess. I'm going to show you. More than 2 billion items. And there's no truth to the rumor that I'm responsible for taking out 1 billion of them. I do read a lot of books, but not nearly that many. What retail chain abandoned a very large store to make it into the largest single-story library in the United States? The answer is Walmart. There are other things in libraries other than books and DVDs. Which Bay Area city has a library where you can borrow tools? By the way, I will never be borrowing a tool from a library. I am not very good at fixing things, as my wife will certainly attest. But if you want to go to Oakland, they have 3,500 tools that you can borrow from the library. Isn't that wonderful? And now let's talk about some famous quotes about libraries, why libraries are so important to our generation, to future generations, and why they are something that I feel so passionate about. Who said the only thing that you absolutely have to know is the location of the library?
Michael Harris.
That's a good answer, but it was somebody a little bit smarter than me. Actually, that was said by Albert Einstein. So Einstein, as smart as he was, realized that if you have a library card and you go to the library, you can find out just about anything you need to know. And who said, whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to an ignorant nation.
What a better time to talk about that.
One of our famous and illustrious former newscasters, Walter Cronkite, said that. These are the reasons why I am so enthusiastic and so devoted to our library and so pleased that we are going to have a new one in the not too distant future. Last question. Which book holds the record for being the one most stolen from public libraries? Not the Bible. The answer is the Guinness Book of Records. And Chris, your copy is overdue.
I'm sorry, I'll get it back.
Thank you.
Sorry, Patrick.
All right. So now let's talk about what we're going to be doing from this point on. Let's build a new library in Pleasant Hill. What will that new library look like? What are we envisioning for that building? What are we envisioning for the resources that we're going to have available to our residents and others who visit our library? So this is just some imagining. We're hoping that we're going to get a library between 20,000 and 25,000 square feet on about somewhere around 3 acres. That would be delightful. We are hoping that it will be modern, obviously, well lit, provide spaces for 1,600 daily visits, ample and convenient parking, and free parking, unlike our neighboring city, which I shall not mention, Walnut Creek, where you have to pay to park to use their library. 24-hour book drop-off, speedy service, all those things that you expect from a modern library. And we envision an open floor plan with tens of thousands of books, magazines, DVDs, all of those other things that people are just so interested in borrowing because it's going to enhance the quality of their lives. We know how popular our children's area is, especially our story time. And if you've ever gone to the library during story time, you know how magical it is, but you also notice how crowded it is. So we're going to expand the children and family library area, books for hand-on learning, early literacy areas, and comfortable seating for both kids and their parents. And flexible. We want a library that can meet all kinds of different needs. So we want flexibility in the collections and the services. We want to be able to have space for large programs like story time, but we also want to be able to close off different areas for special events, smaller events such as after-school activities, tutoring, what have you. And we certainly want it inviting. The library is going to have conference rooms and study areas, a small conference room. Here's the City Council at its first meeting in the new Library Council room. I don't think any of us are in this picture, but hopefully some young folks will eventually take over our jobs. Large conference rooms for meeting and small rooms for tutoring and what have you. One of the things that has become really apparent to us as we viewed other libraries around the area is that you need a vibrant teen section. Teens have a special need in the library. And we want to make sure that we have a teen section that's customized to the needs of teens, where they have 21st century technology, and that is something that is safe, social, and an inspired destination where they want to go. Not that they have to go, but they want to go. I mentioned technology. Obviously, this new library is going to have the best in technology. Power outlets everywhere, comfy seats, laptops that you can borrow if you don't have your own, Wi-Fi, and the ultimate workspace for professionals and students. And we are envisioning that this library will have a Friends of the Library bookstore. If you go to some of the other libraries in the area, you'll see that they have a robust Friends of the Library bookstore where the proceeds go to helping programs and increasing the collection of the library. We have a very small area that just can't serve that purpose. We're envisioning a Friends of the Library bookstore. People have said we need a bookstore in Pleasant Hill. This will be, in my opinion, the bookstore to go to in Pleasant Hill. Much of what we've accomplished so far in getting to where we are with the library has been due to the Pleasant Hill Library Task Force. And I want to thank all the members of the task force who have been meeting over the past 2.5 years to come up with ideas and suggestions as to how we're going to go about getting this new library. And I want to thank them very much for all of their service. They've got us to where we are now. And the question is, what is the next chapter? Where do we go from here? And the answer is, we need to come up with a location and a design. As Zach mentioned, one of the problems with location is we're still waiting for an agreement between the county and the Rec and Park District on where the playing fields are going to go in that large 10-acre site. But we are 100% sure that we're going to get probably a 2.5 to 3 acre site somewhere near the current library, so it'll be convenient for everyone. We are hiring a project manager to help find us the most outstanding architecture firm that we can get to build and design our new library. The process of designing and building a library is going to be one with lots of public engagement. We've done this with other projects, and we find that the public is really, really important to making sure that what we build and what we design meets everybody's needs. So we'll have lots of workshops, we'll have lots of public hearings. Each and every one of you will have an opportunity to give us input as to what you'd like to see in this library, how you'd like to have it designed. And we're going to go through this process on a regular basis once we know the exact location, Zach. Once we know the exact location, Zach. Once we know the exact location, Zach. I would have said Karen, because Karen Mitchoff is the county supervisor who's been helping us with this. But it's going to be a process that I think all of us are going to be proud of, that we're going to say that when we do come up with this final design, we have taken into account all of our community's needs. We visited lots of libraries, and we intend to visit more, to get an idea as to what components make for the best possible library. We've looked at designs of architectural features of the exterior. We've looked at the interior. One thing we know two things for sure about designing a new library. Number one, you don't want to put a fireplace in the library. Number two, you want a teen area where the teens can be, shall we say, observed. We visited one library where they had a teen area that was out of sight of the staff, and they told us some interesting things about what they discovered in that teen area, so I won't bore you with that. But we know that we want a teen area that will have visibility by our staff. And we intend to tour other libraries and come up with designs that we can put before you, and you'll help us come up with a final design. As far as the design is concerned, I'm going to be starting a design contest for our school-age children, starting with the kindergartners all the way up through high school. You'll be hearing more about this in the next couple of months. We're going to actively start a contest where kids are going to have an opportunity to draw what they envision to be in the new library. And these are some previous pictures that we've seen. As you know, I really care about kids in education. What a wonderful opportunity to get kids engaged in something that is so important to them. They may not even realize how important the library is to them, but if they have a hand in designing it, isn't that going to be something that's going to stimulate them to want to be at the library and see what's going on? So we're going to have a contest. I'll tell you more about that in one of my upcoming columns, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We also need to do fundraising. Now we know that we've got the money to build a library, but we're not sure how we're going to finance that. The city has got to decide what they're going to do, and in a future meeting we're going to come up with a plan to actually finance a library so that we can get going on building it as soon as we know the exact location, Zach. We also know that we're going to need to do some fundraising because we're going to want to make sure that this library has the kind of collections that will be of value to our residents of all ages, and the furnishings that will be comfortable and attractive. So you'll be hearing from me later in the year about a fundraising challenge. Once we know the exact location of the library, Zach, I will be putting forward a fundraising challenge in which all of you can help. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we putting so much attention to libraries? Well, it's very simple. Libraries make stronger communities. They really do. I grew up in a library in San Francisco, and it just was a great place to go after school, to do homework, to find resources. It was just a very, very welcoming and energizing place. And if any of you have ever seen Patrick lead a story time for kids, you will get that same level of enthusiasm. He's amazing. He's the Pied Piper of Pleasant Hill. And you have hundreds of kids and their parents engaged, and that's the word, engaged in the reading experience. So they value how much reading means. So, folks, in conclusion, when we build it, they will come. And I'm hoping that this process can be done in the next, I'll be optimistic, 4 to 5 years. Because we know without libraries, what are we? We have no past and we have no future. But we have a fantastic future ahead of us with our new library. I want to thank all of you who supported Measure K. And I want to thank all of you for being engaged in this process when we start going through the design. And I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, so much for your inspirational words. And I know with your leadership, we're going to make it, build it even sooner than you've said. So thank you so much for your leadership. Well, we almost made it to 9. We're at 9:06. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for your partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. If you're not a member of the Chamber, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you about getting engaged with us. I also need to thank a few folks that helped put today's event together. I want to make a special shout out to Martin Nealis from the city. Martin, you were fantastic to work with. Thank you, Martin. And then my dynamic duo back here, we have Tina Trom and Juanita Lopez from the Chamber. And I also want to acknowledge my predecessor, Ann Luke, who's here this morning. Ann, she set the Chamber up on a great course, and I just hope I don't screw it up. So thank you, Ann, very much. Thank you all for coming, and for the board members that are still here, we'd like to do a group shot, so if you could meet us outside. Have a great rest of your day, and here's to a great 2017. Thank you so much.